Hello again. Mama Maria's back in the sewing room. This time we're making surgical scrub caps like this one here. Now this, I did not come up with this pattern, I have to say that. This was thanks to Lifebox DIY Scrub Cap, who they actually designed the pattern and distributed it on YouTube. And also I'd like to thank the Mom and Pop Quilt Shop for posting the video on how to sew it, how to put it together. Being a pattern maker myself, that is my trade, I tweaked the pattern a little bit to make it a little bit more quick to sew, let's put it that way. I treat these projects like I would a line sewing project, therefore it has to flow very, very quickly. So you can make, like these ones here, an hour, you can make up to 10 of these caps. They're very, very, very simple to put together. Like I said, with just a few tweaks and some cutting techniques and sewing techniques that I will show you, you're going to have a very nice looking cap with minimal time. So here's the pattern piece as it's printed off from the computer. This is the top part, the head part, which gets sewn on afterwards. So it's because it comes in two pieces. So that's the head part right there. The rest of it is the band. So that's the whole band that gets tied at the back. It's actually a very, very simple design, but very useful. So what I did is I tweaked it a little bit. So this is fine the way it is. That needs to be cut. And then these need to be cut and joined. So here we go. So it says B with the 1 asterisk goes with B with the 1 asterisk, and it says overlap here. So you're going to overlap it like so and tape it. Okay, so there's a Scotch tape here. I wish I had shares of Scotch tape. I go through so much. And then it says overlap here, so you're going to overlap this part right there. Okay, so you can even cut it if you like, just to be able to see. So we're going to cut that right off. Overlap right there. Okay, and you tape it. And this part here, as you can see, goes on a fold. So that's great if you're going to be doing just one at a time. That works fantastic if you're working with one at a time. But in light of this crisis that we are living through, and the volumes needed for these surgical caps, one at a time isn't going to cut it. So I've come up with a way to work as if I was a manufacturer. So what I did was, rather than working on the fold, I put it together as one whole piece. So you don't have to worry about the fold. Okay? So one whole piece, and you have your center, okay, and you have your ends. So you layer the fabrics one on top of the other, and because you need 2 bands per cap, because it's one on the inside, one on the outside. They're folded. So 2 bands per cap, because they're stitched. It's much easier to do it this way, believe me, than it is you see it's even serged on the inside. It's much easier to do it this way than to try and work with hemming foots and making like a narrow edge, or even smaller. You can make smaller ties, but then to turn them around is a bit of a pain in the you-know-where. So anyway, this is what I figured out. Now the other thing, the original pattern comes with sharp corners. So that means you have to stop, pivot, go around. So that's time consuming. Time is money. In this case, time is less productivity. So what I did is I rounded it off. It doesn't much matter if it's square or round, it's just rounded. You don't have to pivot or anything. You just start sewing and you stop at the notch. Now I also added notches because as a pattern maker, all the pieces have to fit together. Now where it says sew to the mark, I added a notch there and a notch on this other side. So basically what I did is, this is the half pattern here on the fold. So I just cut around it, put my notches in, put a notch there for the center, and opened it up. Now by mistake, I printed off 2 patterns, so I thought I may as well use it. The other thing that I did for the head, for the cap part, is, so I cut it out. So you see this is the A, I cut it out. I found the center, because you're going to need that, because that has to line up with this. Plus the other thing is I measured from here to here, and I found that same spot and put a notch on the headpiece. And that way you know exactly where everything lands when you're sewing, because otherwise you'd be measuring, and that's very time consuming once again. So you really only need 1 of these for every 2 of those. So 1 cap part for 2 bands. Okay, I hope that that's clear. Just to reiterate, I marked, so I measured from here to there, and it was 30 centimeters. And then I did the same thing from the center. I measured and I marked where it was 30 centimeters right there, 29 or 30. Okay, so it just depends how tight you have. So that way this notch coincides with that notch, but I'm not actually going to notch them when I cut them. I'm just going to put a slit on here and a slit on there. You'll see why when I come back, when we start sewing. And over here, you're going to put the notches. Okay, hopefully that's clear. So now it's time to start mapping out the cutting, because the cutting layout is quite important. Now, what I'm going to do is check this way. I already checked this way, and I saw that the pattern was a little, or the fabric was a little bit too short for the pattern. So that's fine. I'm going to go this way. So this way here, I saw where I need the fabric to be, and I'm going to just mark it, and I'm going to cut off the excess. It's just going to be a little bit easier to maneuver. Now, as you know, with cotton, you just rip. There we go. This can get put aside. Now, I'm going to take, now this fabric has been washed and dried. So I'm going to put it down like so. Just be sure that it's not bumpy, nice and flat. Okay. All right, now I'm going to see how many caps how many folds I have to do. So I'm going to put it right here, and it looks like I can probably get 4 folds, meaning that if I do this, so fold once, and this is already folded here. So once and twice. I'm going to now cut out 4 caps all at once. So I'll put that over here. Okay, pin it down, cut. Now, even if your scissors won't cut through all the layers, that's okay. You can also do it like half at a time. It'll still save time. If you, oops. Good job I checked before I cut. Down here there was a little off. So I'm going to just pull these 2 pins out, pull it over this way. And pin it. So even as I was saying, even if you won't be able to get through all the layers because you've got 8 layers of fabric there, that's going to be a little hard. If you cut 4 and then 4 without removing the fabric with the pattern, it'll still save time. In manufacturing, they have laser cutters. Okay, so we're ready to cut. Now I'm going to leave 1 centimeter seam allowance, simply because that way I'm going to get the full length and the full width of the pattern without taking it off, in the event that somebody has, I mean it is adjustable, in the event somebody has big hair. And these days with all the salons closed, there's going to be a lot of people with big hair. So now I'm going to go around. You can feel free to mark the 1 centimeter mark or seam allowance if you like. Now the cap part can be taken out of here, but you need half as many. So I'm not going to cut it just yet. So you see what I've did? I cut it. And then, without ever removing the pattern piece at all. And my seam allowance is already there. So I could actually go through. No, that's too hard. That's hard on the hands. Somebody's going to get nice green caps out of this. Okay, so there's 1. So there you have 4 masks cut. And now to sew them together, actually they are so easy. They are very easy to sew together. And I even serged the edges. The inside edge is even serged. So that shows you how very simple this pattern is to put together. Now I'm sure that many of you have already figured this out, but for some novice sewers or beginners, they might find the task of sewing multiples a bit daunting because they're not too sure of themselves. So this is where my part as an educator comes into play. I want to build up their confidence and let them try and let them say, okay, I'm going to do this. And you know what? If you make a mistake, that's fine. That's fine. Make a design feature out of it, and you'll have a cap. There we go. See, there's 4 caps cut, or 4 bands cut. Now I need 4 caps. So here I have 2, 4. So you see here, 2, 4 layers, and there's just enough fabric here without using that extra piece. That extra piece can be made more bands because you have another 4 on that side. Okay, so you pin this. Okay, you cut 1 centimeter seam allowance on this as well. Your best friend, nice sharp scissors. 1 centimeter, give or take. Like I said, feel free to mark it if you like. But for this instance, I think that it's more important, speed is more important, accuracy is important, but speed is more important. So now I'm going to take and I'm going to put a nice clip right there and right there. So that's just a clip. This is going to be a notch because that differentiates between the edges, the bottom, and the center. Important because over here, if you don't differentiate when you're sewing, you won't know which is which. So now I'm going to put a notch here, first in the top 4 and then in the bottom 4. So 4, notch, notch. Okay, coming. And then here, I marked it with a notch so I'd be able to see it, but I'm going to put a clip for the length of the seam allowance. Whoop, missed it. There we go. Same thing on this side here. This is going to be just a clip. Okay, we're ready to sew now. So we take our pattern piece off. Okay, so that's gone, and this is gone. There we go. So now we're going to head to the sewing machine and sew all of them at the same time.